Today marks 1332nd day. Sharon Aslas learn and continue to learn with you, and I hope that these insights will inspire you, support your dreams, help achieve your goals, and really empower you to become the person that you want to become. Today I speak about complaints. I think it's easy to complain. It's very easy to complain. The thing doesn't work the way how you're supposed to. That's how you would love to. And that moment is very easy to complain. There's a lot of bad words coming with complaints. Victim, fair game. It could be judging other people. I think that is a lot of times because we judge ourselves, other people, we start to complain. And I think that's complaints a lot of times comes coming lack of awareness, lack of empathy, lack of grace, lack of compassion. So complaint is something that we're supposed to avoid, but of course we're not able to avoid. But what we're able to do is change to something that is more constructive. So that means that we really want to really speak about really how to really move from complain to construct. Complain doesn't help. Complain doesn't solve anything. Complain is just to want. While construct, of course, that word is beautiful word, construct, that means you need to really build something. So it's rather than really wanting, sometimes it's good, but wanting a different way is important, to really constructing, to building something that is allowing us to really create a solution that really solves the thing that we were wanting to complain in the first place. So today I'll really share like what we need to really do, because complaints is makes us feel stuck, powerless, and of course it's sometimes we just don't want to really solve the problem. Sometimes you just want to complain because there's nothing else to do, rather than really focusing on a short term, maybe even sympathy from other people, because we'll not receive the empathy, because complaints is not something that other people could understand sometimes if they actually able to really think about the positive things in their life. And the one thing is that complaining is something that sometimes people are unaware, including myself. Sometimes we unaware that we made a complaint, and I think that sometimes we need to be able to catch it. And when you really start being aware of your sayings, sometimes you're able to start catch yourself complaining. And when you catch yourself complaining, you're able to really get it back and really do the right things to really stop complaining. Because I think that for me, it was very, very easy to complain. For some reason, I was built that way that I used to complain and complain and complain about all the things. But after that, I started to really get awareness around it. And I used to complain and then immediately catch myself. Sometimes I used to complain, and after a day, I realized, oh yeah, I was complaining that back then. And then now I'm able to catch myself immediately after I complain. I'm able to catch myself, and I really transition to start working on constructing something rather than complaining. So how to really move from complaining to constructing, to really building, to creating? So number one, we need to really notice our language. So being aware and reflecting on our language. What do we say on a consistent basis? But what are the patterns? Because a lot of things what we say are the things that we have said thousands of times. We start to say the same things subconsciously, just saying without noticing the where that is coming from. Because that language could coming from complaining rather than really looking into what we're able to do, how we change our patterns of thought patterns, the language patterns, the wordings that we use. Because I think that we're able to catch yourself quite fast when you start to notice that some language patterns are complaining. Why do they always? Why him or she is always? That special always is always bringing some complaint in mind, because majority of things is not always. It's just rather gray areas. This is unfair. This is unfair. I guess it's a complain because life is unfair, as we know. You just need to really play the card that you have dealt, not looking for something better. Nothing ever works. I think this is again one of the great ways to see that there is a complaint in that. So what kind of patterns we would love to hear? What kind of patterns we would love to really hear in our language? So what's really bothering me right now? What's specifically bothering me? What I'm able to do about it? What I'm able to do right now specifically to really work on that? I think that's much better. What outcome do I want? So like when we complain about something that we didn't get what they want, do I know what they want? Do I know what they need? So what outcome do I really want? And then of course when we're very specific, sometimes we do not get what we want because we're not specific enough and we're very generalized. So being able to understand what we want, I think that's again is great. And what part is in my control? Because we potentially could complain about other people, but what part I'm in control. Which, because I could potentially be live and happy about other people, but I'm able to be happy about my part. But if you're unhappy about other people and you didn't control you and didn't do what you need to do in your own part, how are you supposed to be mad about other people who didn't do their own part when your part is not taken care of as well? So of course we want to really understand that awareness is the first step to upgrade from complaining to construct. Awareness is the first step to upgrade to anything in life. Awareness is the key. Number two is label the emotion, not the drama. And that's the beautiful thing. I think sometimes it's hard to understand, okay, how to label emotion, not the drama. So it means that we're able to really label this team is disaster, my team is disaster, my family is disaster. So this is a drama. This is you label the drama. But now we're able to really look into internal and say, like, how this situation makes me feel. So like I could just like I feel frustrated, I feel overwhelmed, I feel overwhelmed because of this chaotic situation. So it means what it means that these feelings are valid. Blame is optional. Feelings are valid. Blame is optional. Such an important thing. So that means complaining is optional. You don't need to do that. Solution could be achieved without complaining, without blaming, without really finding the fault of whose fault it is. I think that's a beautiful thing when you don't looking for fault, you're looking how to solve and how to move this situation as soon as possible. And I think when we're able to really say that this is how I feel, but I will do something about it. Because you're able to blame or able to take action. You're not able to do it at the same time both. You're of course able to blame and do action later, but you're not able to do it both at the same time. So if you want to really fix your problem faster, that means you want to move into really taking action immediately rather than really looking for faults and really blame. I'm guilty of that as well, so like I'm not any different. And I think that is again the beautiful part about blaming and complaining. I mean, sometimes even a victim card, that I think that 90% of us, 95%, maybe 99% of us have done it in the past and multiple times, and that's made the faster we catch ourselves, the faster we're able to move to the right way, to the victor rather than victim. Number three is ask constructive questions. That's a beautiful. This is again like one of the topics, ask constructive questions, because questions lead to answers. The better questions you ask, the better answers you get. So you want constructive answers, you want to constructive questions. So of course that we're able to ask the wrong questions, and I think a lot of times why question is always not the best, and why I messed up, because when you ask the question why I messed up, it could be that you will come up with the wrong answers. Maybe I'm not capable, maybe I'm stupid, or whatever it is, that it might be the wrong answers. But I think that we're able to ask, like, what needs to happen for this to work? What needs to happen? That's at that moment you start to really look into what options, what things need to happen. What's needs to happen right now? And I think that is beautiful. You don't ask them why this happened. You're thinking what's need to happen to make it happen. What do you need to do to make it work? Do you see how much better the question is that you asking about what needs to happen to really that this start to work rather than asking why they happened in the first place? It doesn't matter what happened in the first place. If you know exactly what would work and do that, what works, it doesn't matter why it didn't work, because now I know what works. And I think that I can focusing on what works is much more important than why it didn't work in the past. And I think that's what's one thing I could influence, because it might be that you taking some, because a lot of times you complain even more about other people, to be able to ask, what is my part, what I could do to really support them, what I could really push, what kind of levers could I move, how it could influence this result, so how to really not complain, but really take participation in this action, so I could really achieve this success. Because I think that the questions that is steering our brains towards solution, and I think that we understand that there is finite problems, but there's infinite ways to solve them, and that's why we need to find the best way to do that. Number four, take small action. I think that sometimes when you complain because we're feeling quite stuck. But stuck is a moment where we need to really pursue very small, divided actions, because sometimes we look into massive actions, and those massive actions really creates overwhelming emotions or whatever kind of emotions, as negative emotions, anxiety, or And we are not taking action, but that's why we need to really take those small actions just to really not complain. Because again, as I said, we're able to really take action or we're able to complain. So it's better to take some sort small action rather than complaining. Because we need to understand that small steps is grand intentions, grand achievements. I truly believe in compound effect, and we do not need to really do massive actions to achieve great results. We need to really start small, and those small steps, grand intentions. That's very, very important. And number 5 is that bring others the right way. And I think that's we're able to really complain to other people about something, and we're able to really ask questions. Because we're able to really ask questions, really get support from them. Because sometimes we able to ask, I think a lot of times we complain because we want to get sympathy. But when we really ask for solutions, we get able to get empathy, be able to get wisdom, be able to get knowledge. There's so much more coming out of it when you're really sharing, not complaining, but really asking with the question. So don't complain, co-create with other people. And I guess like this, and I think that we're able to complain but when we're able to describe what happened, what that made me feel, and really start thinking, okay, what would you do in my situation? If you were in my situation, what would you do? What you would think? What would you feel? And being able to really look into other person's perspective and really find a way how to use their perspective in your situation, I think sometimes could be bringing really great ideas. So I think that's the most important part. Really, what we need to learn is really how to change our loop, thinking loop. And I think typical loop is that you have a frustration about something, about yourself, about other people. You complain. When you complain, you vent yourself. You feel sometimes even better after venting. Then you potentially feel resentment towards yourself or toward other people that about that situation. And then, of course, repeating the same loop over and over again. And that leads to, of course, negative emotions, all that resentment that you're carrying in your backpack, in your life bag. And what we need to do, really upgrade that loop. So the first one is frustration, is same thing. That's where the beautiful starts when we need to move to awareness. And awareness that you frustrated, awareness that something that didn't happen that you, how you would love to and how you wanted it to happen. At that moment, after awareness, of course, we're able to reframe the question that we ask ourselves, what we want specifically, really look for perspective. So the awareness, reframe what has really happened, and we have a choice to make. Do you really still want to really complain, or do you want to be a victor, or really want to start taking small actions? So this is a choice of yours. Because it might be that you're aware, but you still want because you feel so disappointed, so frustrated. So you want to really release that by wanting. Maybe it's a great option just for a minute, because the most important part, you will need to make that choice to really take those small actions. And when you take those small actions, you will get some kind of feedback from yourself, from other people, by results you're getting. And then based on that feedback, you will be able to grow yourself. But you will be able to look at what's working, what's not working, what you need to adjust, what you need to pivot. And of course, that leads. Those questions are the growth questions, because you're already seeing that something is working, something is not working, something you need to pivot. And again, this is the growth. And then, of course, when you keep this loop, again, the end is growth. The other loop was resentment, and this is the growth is end. And that's exactly, I think, that where we always need to seek, put ourselves in the loops of growth, not the negative emotions. So I hope you reflect as well. How often do you find yourself complaining, and how often do you need to really find a way how to move from complain to construct to from complain to something to from resentment to growth? Because I think that is a beautiful thing when we're able to really start taking action immediately, executing immediately, rather than spending time on things that waste our time. So I hope you choose win, and see you tomorrow.